Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Justina, and I'm welcome to Accelerate to Profits with virtual events. And today I have Dan Bennett, the entrepreneur, my special guest for you guys, who's here to talk about the real power of video. Dan, welcome so much. Thanks so much for being on our show. Hello. Please tell us who you are and who you help with and what you came to tell us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on first and foremost. I love talking about what it is that I do. So yeah, Dan Bennett, known as the Antipreneur. If you search Antipreneur, you can find me everywhere. So that keeps it real easy for everyone. And in a short sentence, I help entrepreneurs and startups learn how to look and sound good on camera. So story development's at the soul of that whole process. And then video is the vehicle that takes that story where it's going. And that's my main focus. Yeah.
Video is the vehicle, and what is the process?
Just to take story where it's going. Yeah.
Story.
A lot of people think of video as like the end result, right? We're just going to make a video and put it out. And I view it more as the medium that is the most versatile to take your story where it's going. Video can be turned into so many other things as well. So it's just a really powerful medium to tell your story through. So I always say that the real, in quotes, power of video is actually storytelling and what that can do for you and your business.
Ooh, okay. So yes, I'm hearing you. Video is a vehicle or tool to tell your story in a good way. And I hear that because I know writing moves me too. I love reading books and I love reading good copy.
Yeah.
And I can be moved, but still there's something about, personality and tone of voice and energy that it becomes more real, if you can say.
Yeah.
Video.
Yeah.
And because oftentimes I feel like with writing, our mind makes up what's in the gap, right? We kind of imagine
Sure.
the voice, we imagine the things, and which can be great for fictional books and stuff. People always say fictional books are better than the movies,
Yep.
but I think to get to know someone, I hear that. Okay, so video is great, and then why is the story the real reason?
I kind of view it, I call it the medicine and the cheese. So the veterinarian says, get your dog to take this pill, and the dog won't take the pill. So the vet says, well, put it in some peanut butter or maybe in a piece of cheese. And now the dog will just want to eat the cheese and take the pill, as a byproduct. And so cheese to me is video. It's the thing that a lot of business owners know they need or want or desire. And it's a very powerful tool. And I feel like a lot of the work I do, I'm kind of hiding the medicine inside the cheese, which is story. And if I was to boil story down all the way to a single word, it would be relatability. It gives another human the chance to relate to you. And that's the beginning of all the things we're after. It's the beginning of someone liking and knowing and trusting you, getting to know you and your product better, whatever the case may be. And if you can tell a great story and get someone to relate to you, I believe that's kind of half the battle. And then the rest is, do you have good customer service? Is your product good? Do you follow through? And all those business principles that
That's
matter
true.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you gain their trust, you actually have to keep their trust. So you actually have to
Yeah.
keep delivering, right, on what you promised. But okay, but let's just say that I'm in, like I hear you and I know video is good. How do I tell a good story on video? Like what makes it good before I know it's only the cheese. I mean,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
know it's only the cheese and we get to the real stuff, the real pill. But story in a video. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So the first thing I like to kind of dispel is the myth that it has to be once upon a time and happily ever after.
Thank
Um,
you.
story story doesn't always have to be this like professionally written scripted thing. A lot of times it can just be being your true self, really showing people what you're about. I love helping clients with like about me videos that live on their
Yes.
web pages. And a lot of times what we do there is just talk about very, very quickly and easily, where are you coming from? Why are you here today? Why should they be here today? And what would you like them to do next? Simple 4-step process. I made a video on my YouTube channel all about it just because I think it needs to be that simple and it lets me relate to you. And then just sprinkling a little bit of fun on top. I won't go super deep into this, but I think that just keeping things like idioms and analogy and metaphor kind of top of mind. I can tell you a story about something that happened to me. And especially if I do it through metaphor or analogy, and you can pick something from your life that's different but similar enough to relate to me. And now
Mhm.
you understand what I'm saying way better than if I just throw a bunch of jargon and terminology at you. So thinking along the lines of telling great story is actually just as powerful as knowing how to fill in the blanks. And the last kind of part there is I have tools like I have a template that uses a story spine, which was popularized by like Disney and Pixar and stuff like that, that you can fill in at any point in time just with a very simple framework of a story from your life or your product or your service or whatever. And at least then you're not staring at a blank page. So yeah, just kind of
Yeah.
getting the juices flowing is half the battle most of the time.
Well, it's amazing. So okay, like I'm all ears. I want to know more. I'm sure a lot of our listeners and watchers also are. So YouTube, there's the video with the 4 steps. We can look it up.
Yeah, there's a lot on there, how to tell better stories and how to make better video.
Yeah.
And I keep them all real short and punchy so people can get the points, get what they need, and start making better videos and telling better stories. So there's a lot of videos on there, and that's just the Antipreneur. If you search on YouTube, you'll find me.
Okay, I'll make sure I'll do that. And then what do you mean by short enough? So maybe you can give us some tips. What is too long, too short for a video?
Yeah, I get this question all the time, and I'm being truthful and not sarcastic when I give my
Depends.
first answer, which is always, it doesn't matter how long the video is if it's good.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, it still leaves a lot of openness of, okay, Dan, what does that mean? Well, on the other end, if you get really technical, if you happen to say put your videos on YouTube, you can actually look and see your average view duration. So if you make 15-minute videos all the time and your average view duration is 9 minutes, you might want to start trying to edit those a little shorter because you can see what your audience kind of prefers. So
Got
that's
it.
the technical side. The more kind of fluffy side is it doesn't matter how long it is if it's good. Somewhere in the middle is where you're not mincing words, you're getting to the point, you're delivering that education or that inspiration or hopefully a little bit of entertainment as well. And then you're getting out because most of the time people are searching for some sort of solution or answer.
Yeah. Mhm.
And unless you're showing how to do a break job and you have to show that 30-minute video, you might be able to get someone through it a little quicker. So that's kind of how I view it is I call it making a cocktail like a screwdriver. You got half orange juice, half vodka. If that's the first time that you make it, maybe it's a little strong. The next time you make it, you use 75% juice and 25% vodka, and you end up finding your cocktail and what works for you. So I treat video the same way, like better done than perfect mixed with polished and, uh, public, wow, publishing it. So those two things, over time help
Mhm.
you kind of find a middle ground there. And yeah, you'll find it, I guess is the answer. You'll find it. But
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you like look at the numbers, right? So at
yeah,
first, be mindful of the time, deliver it in a concise manner, and then look up your steps and see what your audience likes, right? Because it does. I mean, I do agree. Depending on what you're talking about, how how much time you need and what you so many things. So many things.
yeah. And you end up finding it. I found a rhythm over the last 6 months on my channel, and I'm ranging in between like 3 and 4.5 minutes almost every time. And I'm not aiming for that time. It's just the rhythm I found in making videos that works really well for me. And they, no matter how I shoot them or script them, they always turn out to be about 3 to 5 minutes long.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, for the
Yeah.
purposes of a virtual event, I mean, we could have many videos, obviously, but the number one video we have, the video that's the registration video that's supposed to enroll people who come to the page to come to your event. Now, I've heard many things. I've heard like make it 2 minutes, no more, 1 minute or less. And I suppose you can tell me the same thing. It depends, right?
Yeah.
But
You know what's funny? If someone
audience.
said we're going to do a promotional video, it's going to live on the website and we're going to just give enough information for someone to understand. And then if they want to know more, they can dig in. And someone said, Dan, you have to say an amount of time. You don't get to wiggle out of it. I would say 2 minutes. I feel like that's starting to push the attention span of like, just give me the information so I can move on and register or
Yeah.
move on and not register, So like, yeah, I definitely 90 to 120 seconds is really good for that kind of promotional type video.
Yeah, and some people will watch it less, some people will watch it more, right? Some people watch it to the
Yep.
end, some people watch it just the beginning. So also like me, don't wait till the end to make your point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
know I rarely watch 2 minute videos from people that I don't have a relationship with. I don't know what they're talking
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? I kind of like with emails. I'll skim them and skim them until I know, oh wait, this person always teaching me something, or I'm always inspired, or here's the benefit I always get. So now they have more of my time. I'm sure that's the case
Yeah.
for YouTube audience too, right? They've been watching you a
Oh,
while.
100%. And you have to keep in mind that everyone's on a journey. You know, a lot of people that
True.
see your video don't know you, like you're saying. So I just put out a video this week, and one of the little tips I gave was to remember that everyone's on this journey. So they searched, they saw a bunch of results, they read your title, they looked at your thumbnail. If they made it through all that and they clicked, it's now your responsibility to give them what they came for. That's your job. And I likened it to like a little kid on a slide. So like all of the searching is climbing the ladder. They've done all the work. Now they want that fun slide down. They want to enjoy, you know, the work that they put in. And I think that's the responsibility of the video maker to make sure that, again, you don't mince words, you get to the point. And I start all my videos by saying, okay, today, this is what we're talking about. Let's go. So they know that they're in the right
I
spot,
love
or that
that.
the video's not for them and they can go look, you know, elsewhere. So yeah, keep it
Yeah,
in mind.
I do. I will say that as a consumer of videos, that does ring like true to me. I do want to know upfront what are you going to be covering, and also like keep your promise,
Yeah, that's it.
right? Because I'm not
Mhm.
likely to come back. If you promise to talk about topic A, but for 90% of your video, you talked about something else and then mention at the end. Like I've seen so many workshops where I get to it, I'm like, okay, like it's been a half an hour, get to it, please. Like I came for
Yeah.
a reason. Uh, it's great, but like that what's it builds trust.
Yeah, it does. A perfect example is I've seen so many videos on YouTube that are tutorials, and the tutorial doesn't start until like a minute and 10 seconds in. And
Oh
what
my God.
someone will do is in the comments, they'll post tutorial starts at 1 minute, 10 seconds. And you'll see maybe 4 comments total listed, but then 20 comments replying to that one saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, so someone who didn't even make the video is like, hey,
Right.
I'm going to save you all time. And I totally relate to that. You know, get to the point. If it's a longer form piece of content, that's fine, because
Oh,
you're either
yeah.
building an audience that expects that, or it's a promotional video or about me video on your website. But if you're educating, entertaining, inspiring, yeah, like let's get to the point.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that for most people, at least that's my experience, making your own video, being on video, it does not come easy. And I'm sure you
Right.
hear a lot of the excuses, or a lot of the this is why I haven't, and a lot of the resistance. I don't know. I know
Yep.
I'm just talking about me, but I know I'm not the only one. And I have all the excuses. I don't like the way I sound, the way I look, I freeze, I'm nervous, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Um, do you help with that? And like, what do you really think is underneath most that you've seen behind all this camera shyness, as I call it?
Yeah. The first thing I always tell people is I will never be the person that's like, just get over it, because it is a big deal. And even to this day, I look at my lens and my camera and the metal and the electronics and the plastics that all go into this thing in front of my face, and I remind myself that that's a person. I'm making a piece of content to help another human, so I can get past looking at the lens. I'll also say that, you know, everyone from aspiring entrepreneurs who are still in college all the way up to Fortune 100 CEOs, I've worked with them all, and they've all been terrified to be on camera. So it doesn't matter how much success, how much time in front of people, doesn't matter if you're a public speaker, there is something about a camera that can be very intimidating. The next thing I always say is, this is what I call my wince face. I always have to like scrunch up my face and go, "Oh, that's the one part I can't do for you." And that's get the repetitions in. And there is a huge truth to just getting in the repetitions. So in trying to tackle this, I've built something called the Video Sandbox. It's just a community space that you can put video to get loving and safe critique and feedback, but we do keep it real with you. And you get that from other people who are on their video journey, as well as professionals like myself. So you have a place to kind of exercise those muscles without putting those videos out to the wolves on the internet.
And it feels a little
Um,
safer. I like it.
Yes, yeah. And the reason I built that was just for this purpose, just because, you can get reps in. Now, that being said, you can make videos and show them to people that you trust and still do it privately through like a Google Drive or an unlisted video on YouTube or something like that. And you can also make 20 videos and never show anyone, but you're still practicing and you can watch them back yourself and try and get better over time. So it can happen privately and safely, and even in loving environments with encouragement. But you have to get those reps in. That's the one part that a professional can't do for you.
And why are we a resistance to having repetitions in? I mean, if it's
Um,
that easy, like get your reps in, and
yeah,
I'm
it's
not
an interesting
exactly-
thing.
I'm just saying, like it seems like to me it seemed like I needed to know the right light, the right sound, the right makeup, the right hair, the right this, right? Like there was always all this, but when we've been talking, it really is like not getting over it, like by just telling yourself, but knowing that the fear subsides, the more repetition you have, the better you
Yeah.
have, it just becomes like not such a big deal anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and getting over it is like one example. So if you think of it as a wall, you can get over it, you can get through it, you can get around it, you can get under it. It doesn't matter how you get to the other side and how long it takes. It's just the effort of getting there, right? So like, I think about it kind of, I don't know, kind of like, yeah, I guess I'll have to stick with training a muscle, like really getting your brain and yourself used to what it's like to see yourself on camera and hear yourself back. And a lot of times when I do presentations and workshops for fun, I'll ask the crowd, what do you think the number one objection to making video is? And it's actually people hating their own voice. That's actually a higher complaint than not wanting to see themselves on camera. And there's
Mm,
actually some science behind that. And the short version is we don't hate our own voice. We hate the unfamiliarity of our voice because
yeah.
we always hear it inside of our head. And again, once you've made some videos or you've been on some podcasts or you've even created your own podcast, whatever the case may be, you do get to a point where you hear your own voice and it just sounds like you. And this very interesting thing happens that whether I'm speaking or I'm hearing myself, I hear the same voice now. And that becomes very comfortable because at first you're like, man, that's what I sound like, and then it
Yes, yes.
becomes yeah, then it becomes familiar, which is what we're really after. So there's no, magic formula. It takes a different amount of time for each person, but I do promise you you can get there with repetition.
Yeah, I love that because I would say a year ago, I would probably not believe you.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I would probably be a little skeptical. I'm like, come on, I will never just jump on. And somehow it just became a little bit less of a deal. But I also did get a lot of help. Like I didn't just I didn't want to do the repetitions on my own.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing them.
Yeah.
Like I needed a coach. I needed someone else to like step in and even creating this event. It was like, well, I have to do it now, right? I
Yep.
committed. Let's go. So sometimes
Yeah.
throwing
Yeah.
myself in the water, like making myself go and do all that. Who
Yeah. Yeah. Finding your way. Yep.
and I know you said you help a lot of people from like you said college students to CEOs to startup to and we all have the same fears.
Yeah. We're all human. Yeah. And a lot of times, the same kind of hangups exist. A lot of people look at video and they see this giant learning curve. And especially entrepreneurs, they're like, I'm already wearing all these hats. I don't want to now have to become a video producer person.
It's
Right.
true.
And what I tell people is that video is very, very simple. It really is simple. But I am honest about the fact that it's not easy, right? So there's a difference. And I can promise that it is simple, but not easy. And it becomes easier with the repetition. So that's kind of the formula, that we kind of use there. The other thing too is breaking through what my clients think their problem is and getting to the real problem. So I got this pie chart I show all the time. I'm not a big chart person, but I like to show it so people get it. And there's a 5% slice, and that's technical. So it's the gear and the software you use to edit, whatever the case may be. 5% is strategy. And that is, what kinds of videos are we going to make? 5% is distribution. Where's it going to live? What's it going to do for us? And 85% of that pie of the work I help people with is helping entrepreneurs give themselves permission to be great on camera. It really comes down to mindset, repetition, And once some of those things you think are huge hurdles, but are actually small ones, are out of the way, we get you the right gear, we get some decent light on you, get a decent microphone in front of you. All of a sudden, you give yourself permission to be the awesome entrepreneur you already are, because you thought the learning curve was equipment and software and all these things. And really, what it is opening up and being yourself on camera. And that's the hardest part.
Yes. So I am hearing you that you help with, not obviously the end result is getting on a camera, but it's really more like being comfortable and confident and
Yeah.
all that. And I feel like it probably doesn't just show up in their video. It probably shows up in everything they do once they work
Yes.
with you, right? Because it doesn't, the confidence
Yeah.
translates to how you show up for yourself as an entrepreneur, for your clients, and for everything else.
Yeah, it's so powerful, and I'm not just saying that because this is what I do for a career, but
I
it's
know you
so
love
powerful once you start to open up and you're like, wow, what is possible now? One of the little exercises I used to go through all the time, I was working, with bigger American companies, and I would work with the C-suite and sometimes the CEO directly and stuff like that. I would tell them before we did like an interview with them or got them on camera or whatever. Think about this. You're the CEO of a company, you've been fighting fires all week, and Friday comes, you're the last one out of the building, and you go to your favorite watering hole. Maybe you're sipping on a whiskey and just trying to relax and take the edge off. And someone else is in the bar doing the same thing. There's just the two of you and the bartender. And maybe that other person comes up and saddles up next to you and they're like, hey, what do you do? And you say, I'm a real estate broker, but I really love working with my agents who help first time home buyers because that's where I got my start, and I love helping young families get their first home and navigate that gauntlet that can be really scary, and it's a really big purchase for a lot of people. So, that's what really fires me up and gets me out of bed. I want that version. I don't want the PowerPoint version. I don't want the suit and tie version. I want the version you would tell a stranger who asked you, what are you passionate about? What do you do for a living? So I always try and get people to focus on that. What would you say to someone if you were just having coffee and they said, hey, what do you do?
Yes, instead of I help purpose-driven
Yep.
entrepreneurs achieve their
Yep.
goals or whatever it is, that's the slideshow version. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you just helped me shift a little bit here. I hear that. And yeah, I would love to have you help me with that. I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
need Dan. I just had the moment. I had the moment of I need Dan moment. I'm like, okay, yes. Because when
Yeah.
I hear myself not being like
Yeah,
engaged.
it's easy to do, especially with the camera on. You do want to, like it feels like it's permanent, it's forever. You have to get it right on the first take. I've felt all those feelings, and I have empathy for those feelings. And I always say, remember, you can edit, right? You can take out all the parts you don't want. And a disclaimer here: that doesn't mean you shouldn't make sophisticated videos that are very, straightforward and black and white. They have their place, and there's definitely room to make those. But for the most part, when you're sharing your product, your service, who you are, especially like content marketing that you're just putting out on social and on your own website and maybe through your newsletter and stuff like that, I just want to get to know you. I just want to know what it's like to hang out with you. And
Oh,
the more comfortable that you can become on camera by, again, looking at that lens and being like, oh, that's a person. It's like I'm having coffee. Let's just talk to it like it's someone who's interested in what I do. It does kind of come through. And video will never be real life, right? But I do feel like it's kind of 85%. If you do it well, it's like 85% of what it's like to really meet you. And people
mhm.
can smell the BS from 10 miles away. So if you're on camera and you're not being natural to some degree, it's a turnoff, even if the video is great. People can just tell. And the warning I always give there is like, it's subconscious a lot of times, but people are so used to incredible content. We have all the streaming services, we have incredible YouTubers, we have people making content that's just like professional. It's nice, and we're getting used to seeing that. So if we see something where you're stiff or it feels very salesy or corporatey or whatever, people might be turned off because it's like, oh, this feels produced. So yeah, the closer you can get to what it's like to just sit and have coffee with someone, the better.
I love that so much. Um, because I mean, it makes sense when you say, but sometimes I forget about it, right? Like
It's hard.
I just want to produce the video sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
I could make it this and this, and it'd be so cool. But I'm like, sometimes the one where I just sit there and talk are the most relatable ones, right?
Yeah.
So especially for virtual event and summits, on the registration page, we have the registration video. And they normally are just talking head. Normally it's a host just trying to relate to someone. But I've also thought about maybe I should like produce it and put some slideshows and all that. But from your experience, you're saying more relatable is a better video than the highly produced.
Yeah, if you have a choice between the two, it definitely is. And another reminder, especially in business and with entrepreneurs, another reminder I love to give is that one video doesn't have to be all things, right? So it can be a little gateway into more. And a lot of times that is a shorter video. It's very relatable and personable. It's not scripted. It's just saying, hey, you're here. I'm so happy to see you. These are the things you can find on this page. If you want to know more, our walkthrough videos or our tutorials or whatever it is that you're making are right over here. So you can dive in and get the exact information you need. But here, I just wanted to say hello and welcome you and take a look
Yeah.
around, email me, thanks again. And boom, there it is. It's almost like, if you went to a networking event and there's that host by the door and they're like, welcome, drinks are over there, the table's over there, you just want to kind of give people next directions and a warm welcome and then let them dig in deeper. And remember that a lot of people who are visiting your video, no matter what capacity you've done it in, are just like you. So think about what you like. I like short, punchy videos. I like people to get to the point. I like to know what to do next. And I like to see if I relate or not. And so I try and make videos for someone like me who just wants the information,
Yes.
makes it a little bit easier.
Yes, that's a good point. I love that because I do too. Like, I mean, I love to be inspired and related, but when I want certain information, I love when people just educate me, just pour into me, and not withhold. Not like, oh, I would tell you, but sign up here for my
Yeah.
job to do that. I'm like, I have no problem signing up for your paid program, but tell me in advance that you're just not going to teach me anything on this free
Yeah.
one. Like, at least I'm not expecting it. At least I know it's just an
Yeah.
infomercial, right? But there's
That's
trust.
a good little example of where the antipreneur moniker comes from. Yeah, just shoot
Yes,
people
please
straight, get
tell
to the
us.
point. Yeah, do it. It was kind of an accident. I was ranting and raving in 2017 on some video, and entrepreneur, especially in the digital realm, was becoming very trendy, and everyone was saying they're an entrepreneur. And I'm like, you know what? Entrepreneur shouldn't be this sexy, trendy term. I'm an antipreneur. Like, no
Mhm.
magic pills, no silver bullets, no blueprints, just solid business principles and getting to the point, pushing against the status quo. And so that's become kind of my framework, to exist in now. And it came from just like all of that, buy my course and you can work from a laptop on a beach. And it's like, come on, man, come on. Or, coaches selling coaching packages on how to coach coaches.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
With no
I'm a big
credentials, yeah. Mhm.
I'm a big fan of meta, but that's a little too meta. So yeah, I think we're with video becoming so prevalent, especially with the pandemic, a lot more people jumping on camera and all those sorts of things. I think that we're very quickly like just wanting to cut through the BS. We just want information, entertainment, whatever the case may be. It's why things like TikTok and stuff are exploding because you can sit down and watch 60 videos in an hour and be entertained in a bunch of
Yes.
different ways. And that's fun.
And
So
educated. I love the
yeah,
life hacks and
I
all
know,
the
right?
wow, I never
Yeah,
knew that.
right.
Holy cow. And you delivered it in a
Yeah.
punch. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So not
Hey,
everything's got to be 30 seconds long, but keep that in mind. People are really just after information relatability. And then if they want to stick around, they want to know more. I call that the gravity of your solar system. If you pull them in a little and they visit you again, you pull them all the way in and now they're in your orbit. Maybe they'll watch the longer stuff. Maybe they'll have a call with you. Maybe they'll buy from you. But in the meantime, educate them, help them out, and let them go.
educate him, help him out, and let him go. This is great. So I
Yeah.
know that you're doing that on your podcast as well. Tell us your podcast name and what is the podcast about?
Yeah, the Antipreneur Show. It's really kind of my playground, and it's the one place because content marketing is really big for my business. It's the one place where I shut up and I let someone else shine. So it's not a podcast about video. It's a podcast that has guests on who are entrepreneurs who serve digital entrepreneurs like myself and my audience. They might do SEO or web development. They might be sales coaches or mentors or whatever. And I love to bring them on, dig into their brain and learn myself selfishly, and also give that information to my audience. And again, it's a place where I can give a platform to someone else and just be quiet because everywhere else you find me, I'm educating or teaching or telling you something. So it's fun for me to just interview and give that stage to someone else.
That's awesome. Definitely tune in, and all of Dan's links are on this speaker section, speaker page. I know we'll have a few, and also I know you have a free gift or a gift for our audience today. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, so a lot of people, they'll do a lead magnet and it's like, give me your email and here's this thing. That
It's
that
never
wasn't
me,
enough for me.
right?
That wasn't enough for me. So what I did was build a quiz, a fun little 5-minute quiz to see kind of your video content creator type, where you're at on your journey. And then
Mm,
I use that information from your result to give you a lot of tools that are designed right for where you're at on your journey. So that way I'm not giving a free gift to someone who's a beginner and it's advanced, or vice versa. So people either feel spoken down to or it's over their head. So super simple. That's quiz.video. That's the URL to go to my quiz.video. And again, it takes about 5 minutes. And then you get all kinds of free stuff sent to you afterwards, and a little bit of storytelling and some more links to some more videos that are helpful for where you're at. And also there's on your results page, there's a button to book a free strategy call with me. No sales, no gimmicks, no pressure, just strategy, where we can talk about video, see what you're up to, and I can give you some expertise on maybe where to head next. So yeah, it's kind of a whole world once you go through it and you give me your email and you get your results. A lot of
you're in the
awesome,
orbit.
yeah,
Thank
a lot
you
of free,
so much.
awesome free stuff is sent your way afterwards. And there's also a place where you can opt into the newsletter, and that's once a week. And it's kind of all my information curated, plus a couple articles from the internet about whatever weekly topic I'm talking about that week. And it's always around video and storytelling. So if
No,
you're
you
in my
really
world,
are content
that's what
heavy.
you're getting. I
Wow.
am, because it's this interesting thing where my work is also my portfolio, because if I'm telling you I can help you look and sound great on camera, I better be doing so myself. So I really rely on my content to kind of drive that point home too. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you were like a treasure of knowledge. So I'm looking forward to checking out all your creations.
I always tell people, if you're savvy and hungry, you never have to pay me a dime. Everything is at your fingertips. And I'm happy if you find your way and never have to hire me at all. Of course, I want to work with people directly and I want to create revenue for my business. But if you're DIY driven, you can definitely get everything you need.
That's amazing. So let's say someone says, "No, Dan, I need to work with you. I need you. There's something you can help me with." How would someone, what would be the best way or the next step?
Yeah, so definitely taking that quiz, because then I'll have your result and I have a really good kind of sense of where you're at currently. And then we can use that strategy call to maybe actually make it into a discovery call and see if we want to work together. So that would be really easy as well. And then the sandbox I talked about earlier, the URL for that is sandbox.video. So I'm trying to keep all these real easy.
You do have really good
Sandbox.video.
words. Yes. And what is the sandbox
And
behind us?
that's a community space, a singular space with other entrepreneurs and video professionals like myself in it, where you can ask questions, you can post your video, you can get loving critique and feedback in this private environment. And you just pay a monthly fee to be in there, kind of like a gym membership, and get those reps in, try things, ask questions. And again, if you're savvy and you go in there, you'll get access to me, which usually costs hundreds of dollars. In this case, you can do it for about $1 a day. And I still am in there and I answer questions and I help people out. So if you're listening, you're savvy, you want to get ahead quick for a really inexpensive price, you can join the sandbox. There's a 7-day free trial too. So you can kind of try it out and see if it's for you. And you'd be surprised how much I offer either free or inexpensive things, and no one takes advantage of it, even when I promise that I'm in there with you. So if you're feeling savvy, yeah, get in there and get that information, and we could talk about whatever you want, because the whole goal is for you to make video, exercise those muscles, and get better as quick as possible.
That's very generous. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'm
Yeah.
hearing that. Yes, you're very generous with your word and with what you help people with. So get in there and start digging, everyone in the audience. I love that. And before we go, do you have any final words of wisdom or advice or practical tips, whatever you like, for all of our virtual event builders today?
I'll say two things. One, real quick, again, trying to keep it easy. danhaslinks.com is just all my social links on one page. So if you just want to kind of observe and not interact directly or not give up your email, you can follow me on any of my socials. And kind of the thought, I guess, is that even though this isn't my favorite thing to say, it's true. And I like to tell the truth and be transparent with everyone. Entrepreneurship is a constant duality. and that's okay. Everything that we come up against is a spectrum. You'll hear someone say, just ship it, just make 100 videos and put them out. Doesn't matter what they look like, you just do it. And eventually, whatever, you'll find growth or whatever. And then you'll have people who say, like, take my course, make your videos super sophisticated. If you're going to build your own video course, it's got to be perfect, whatever. Just remember that's a duality, that's a spectrum, and you probably don't fall on either end. You probably fall somewhere in the middle. So keep that cocktail metaphor in mind. Everything we're doing as entrepreneurs is a cocktail, and you have to find the one that tastes best to you.
Find Your Own Cocktail by Dan
Yeah.
Bennett. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate all the knowledge you poured into our audience and us. Lovely meeting you. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome.
Thanks everyone in the audience. Tune in soon.